The Strain episode 9, The Disappeared. This was definitely sort of a low type of episode. They didn't really have too much action in it. They had some interesting action moments. Most of it I feel like was really like it was sort of an exposition episode. It was mostly a lot of the characters talking, explaining themselves. We get some deeper moments between some of the characters. But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I think, admittedly, my favorite part was the flashbacks, though, because it answered some really big questions that we've had since the beginning of the show, or at least since we started to get the flashbacks and we learned the relationship between the only two characters who have actually gone through this again. So I actually enjoyed that. I thought it was a really interesting moment in the flashback storyline. And it may or may not be the end of it. I don't know if it really will be or not. But it didn't go as I expected. I thought that we have our main guy who's battled the demons and stuff like that. He knows what to do. He knows how to kill them and things like that. So whenever the older guy talks about how he's battled against the demon, I always think that he went through an actual battle. And in this episode, the only thing that happened was that the he was gonna fight the demon because he heard it coming up to him in the night, and the demon caught him and he crushed his hands, and he was gonna be killed because Icarus doesn't care. He was a Nazi. He was gonna have him killed, and then he was fortunately able to escape with a lot of other people. But with the dialogue that they've had, and with the very very first episode, one of the big things was that he had this heart in a jar, and they even mentioned that when he talks to Icarus when he's in prison, that he lost someone before, and that Icarus also lost someone, like one of his partners or whatever. So the flashbacks are definitely not over. I think we're gonna get. I don't know if they're gonna start in the next episode, but I think after what I saw in this flashbacks, or in these flashbacks, I should say, we're gonna skip a couple of years, or maybe a year. It might not even be a year. It could be a couple of months, and the virus begins to truly spread, and then that's when they get the actual battle, or just all the craziness that actually happens goes down in those flashbacks. So I'm really excited to see those. We got to see Icarus when he first transformed. He wasn't killed or anything like that. He was ready to change, and so he was turned by the beast, who, excuse me, we actually get to see in this episode, which I also didn't expect, but definitely a great way to end the episode with how the flashbacks were going and things were splitting the characters apart, and then one character was escaping to freedom and the other character was starting sort of his new revolution. And it was just a great way to end the episode where Icarus is actually turned by the beast, and we actually see the beast. We see his actual face, and he really does look like a vampire. Like, they say vampire, and they have the actual name, which I can't remember right now. But when they showed his face, he really had like almost a typical vampire face. He had like the pointy ears and like how his nose looked and stuff. He looked like an actual bat, and bats are related to vampires. So he sort of had a fairly vampire type face. So I thought that was fairly interesting when I saw that. But I definitely enjoyed it. No surprise, F ends up killing his wife's boyfriend. So there's really no surprise in that. I knew he was gonna die in the episode when he went towards the two people who were monsters. So I knew he was gonna get killed. The big question that came out of this episode was, where is his wife though, and that's gonna be the big focus for next week. So I'm really excited for that. This one was just like, they didn't give us any clues, so I was just thinking like, where is she at? I figured she was safe because they would have kind of explained that, but she's somewhere right now, and so they're gonna have to go on a search for her in the next episode. So I'm really looking more forward to that compared to just the question of where is she, because I guess because it didn't really feel super dramatic compared to some of the stuff they were going through in the episode when they actually came across um, people that were actually turned. So it wasn't really in the forefront of my mind throughout the episode. It was just a thing like, well, they've mentioned it now, but they aren't showing anything, so we know she's not just dead, and they're gonna skip over it. It's like it's just gonna be saved for a different episode, and that's what I'm gonna be more excited for. So I am more excited for next week's episode. Um, Something else I did enjoy, the hacker. We learn a little bit more about her. They actually show us her apartment, and she faces it. Well, she doesn't really face off against the guy, but Feck kills one of her old neighbors, and she actually talks to the older guy when they're kind of at their safe house, and she tells him like, I was hired by this rich guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but of course they knew he was because he's really powerful and famous. So she mentions and tells her whole story, like, I was hired by them to do this, I didn't know it was gonna be this crazy. I didn't trust the guy when I saw him, who was Icarus, but I never would have expected crazy vampire creatures infecting the entire city. So I don't know if that's really gonna get out to the rest of the group because neither of those characters seem like they're really gonna be super talky, and they haven't been yet. So I don't see them just randomly blurting that out, either of them, honestly. But I did enjoy the fact that she told someone, so we got to see a reaction from who I would really consider the most stable of characters throughout the series so far. But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I wouldn't say it was absolutely amazing. After last week's episode, it was a bit of lull as far as the action and suspense and stuff because that one was like, who is gonna survive, who's gonna die. They had the really dramatic moment when they lost their friend, which they I did enjoy that moment when they kind of gave their friend a eulogy, but the guy they just killed, it was just like, nah, he's dead, and F just walks off, which was kind of I thought that was kind of funny, but he didn't really have anything to say. He didn't really know that guy, and it was just kind of funny they were talking about someone completely different who they really cared about compared to the person whose body they were actually burning in front of them. So I thought that was an interesting scene. It did kind of honor their friend who they lost. But this one, it had its sort of actiony moments. It had the very beginning. It had the scene in the prison transport truck, which was definitely one of my favorite scenes. I knew that was going to happen. I mean, we all knew that was going to happen. We were just waiting for when he was going to turn. And so we got to see that in this episode, and the guy has to kill his cousin, and then he just takes off, and so it's still in the middle of the night. And these past couple of episodes have all taken place during the night, so I don't know uh, how much longer it's going to do that. And based on the preview, I have to say the next episode is going to go into the daytime. But I'm definitely curious to see how dramatically different things are going to be because after the eclipse, that's when things started to change within the city. Like they showed the stuff with pretty much every taxi driver was like the smart person when you think about it, where it's like things are going crazy. I got to get out of here. Except for the one guy who got out of his car to shoot the guy in the face. But they're kind of like the ones where they know things are going crazy and they will take off and leave you there. So things have been going crazy. The police are spread out really far. Paramedics are spread out really far. So now that things are going to be during the day, I'm curious to see how different things are now that everyone knows things have really gone crazy during the night. People have changed and they might not see them during the day, but enough. I feel like more than enough people have been killed off within this night that we've had in these past two episodes that things are going to be really different even when we get back to the daytime and it's actually safe for everyone because they're going to know like this person died, that person died. I saw a ton of really creepy weird things that may not have personally affected me. I may not have seen people die, but there were just a lot of people looking really weird throughout the streets and stuff in the middle of the night. A couple of people tried to come into my house, weird stuff like that. All the cops being spread out, a ton of people have had these encounters. So things are going to be different during the daytime now because a lot of people are going to know what happened, and a lot of people, I feel, will have to have survived that. So I'm excited to see how things are different during the daytime now that everything's really gone nuts. But ultimately, I did enjoy this episode. Like I said, it was really more of a exposition episode where we just got it was just completely story. It was just the characters kind of bonding and telling each other stories, and that's really all this episode was. I don't hate it for that or dislike it or anything, but it was almost a complete opposite of last week's episode, which was just the big suspense action episode. This was just the really calm after the craziness moment, and that's what it was, and I enjoyed it for that. But I am excited for things to really pick up next week. Them going on the search and finding F's wife because I'm sure they're gonna find her. She'll be fine, and if not, that'll be a great twist for the episode. But I enjoyed it. Of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. I'm not really sure what to ask in this one. I mean, it was a fairly simple episode, but what do you guys think is going to be happening within the city now that things have really gone crazy during this night when things go back to being normal, so to speak? How do you guys think the city's really going to be changed, especially considering that not only have a ton of people been attacked by these creatures, but the stuff with the internet and the phones, all that coming together at one time will probably be really big on the news. So how do you guys think that the I guess day life is going to be changed now that they've had such a dramatic nightlife in these past two episodes? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.